Hi, hello, it's Nikki, and welcome to my messy bookshelves. Today I am here to share my wrap-up for the month of June. So it was not a very high volume reading month for me this month. However, I am perfectly happy with that because I really enjoyed everything that I read. May was a little bit of a hot and cold month for me, so there were some things that I really loved and there were some things that were kind of meh, not the greatest, and that I probably won't read again. But back to June. So the first book that I finished was actually an audiobook, and that was Atomic Habits by James Clear. And I found myself in the beginning of the month kind of feeling in need of something self-help and to work on myself and whatnot. So it is one that I had read before, but I find it helpful to re-listen to books like this sometimes. So I really enjoy the chapters that he has regarding habit stacking. So that is the method of using a positive habit that you already have and pairing it with a habit that you are trying to form. So I have found this method successful in the past, and I am trying to add some more healthy habits into my life and break some negative habits. So this book was very helpful. I have found it helpful in the past, and I am glad that I re-listened to it. The next thing that I finished was actually The Wager by David Grann, and this is one that if you have watched my videos before, you have probably heard me talk about. This is the book that I got to kind of help myself after the low that I felt after I finished Endurance, because I loved that book. And this book follows the ill-fated voyage of a fleet of ships from Portsmouth in England in the 18th century. And they were on a secret mission to try to capture a Spanish galleon that was full of treasure. And spoiler alert, I think we all can tell based on what the book is about, it says it right on the cover, they did not make it to their objective the way that they thought that they would. So it was a fleet of ships. This particular book follows The Wager, though it does talk about the other ships in the fleet. And yes, an ill-fated voyage across the Atlantic in the 18th century, survival, a mutiny, and yes, I'm here for it. I don't know what it is, but I love books that center around voyages and or sea voyages and mutiny and survival and adventure stories like this. So this was great. I listened to this combination of audiobook on my commute, and then I read it while I was home. So I loved it, highly recommend, great adventure story, and perfect book for someone who might not be super into nonfiction but wants to get into nonfiction, because it was very page turning, as well as Endurance was. The next book that I finished was The Daughter of the Moon Goddess, and this is by Sue Lin Tan, and this one follows a young woman who grows up on the moon. Her mother obviously is the moon goddess, and due to reasons, she has to flee the moon, and she is on a quest to save her mother. So, as I have mentioned before, it is based on ancient Chinese mythology, and it was a very lovely story. It was, adventurous, it was fun, it was enjoyable. I will probably read book 2 because I believe it is a duology, and I really enjoyed it. I wouldn't say that it was the best thing that I've ever read, but it was very enjoyable, and it had a lot of beautiful imagery in there, a lot of beautiful descriptions of the things that were happening in the setting. The next thing that I finished was The Murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie, one that I have read and reread before, and I get something new every time I read it. I love this book, and it should come as no surprise that I, as an Agatha Christie fangirl, love this book. Yeah. There is a murder, there is a famous detective who happens to be my favorite Agatha Christie character, Hercule Poirot, and he is solving a murder in a small English village. The next thing that I finished was The House of Fortune by Jessie Burton, and this one was excellent. This is one of my TBR veterans, so I was very happy to get through this month. I was kind of feeling in the mood for something more atmospheric and a little dark, so this one, I was very surprised. It is told from the point of view, or no, it is not, it is third person, but it follows a young woman in Amsterdam, but she is a woman of color living in Amsterdam in, I believe, the 18th century. And I found it very dark and moody, and I did not realize that this was actually a sequel to The Miniaturist, which I read years ago and really enjoyed. And we are following a young woman who, to be honest, I did not enjoy her character very much because I found her to be a very headstrong, she was very much the teenager who is feeling very angsty and I know everything and my older relatives know nothing. And I don't know, maybe as a mom, I find that kind of character really frustrating because I have a teenager. So I did not enjoy her character at first, and honestly for most of the book. But they're living in Amsterdam. She is struggling to work through her relationships. Her family would like her to make a good match because the family is genteel, but as is typical in many stories, they are impoverished, and they are trying to secure her a good match. But she has other ideas because she knows best. But it was very enjoyable, and it took some turns that I did not expect. So I highly enjoyed it. Very dark and moody, and yes, a sequel to The Miniaturist, which I had no idea. So, and then the last thing that I read. So I only read 6 books this month. The last one was The Convenient Marriage by Georgette Heyer. And I think this is my first Georgette Heyer. I feel like I've read other Regency romance, and I thought that I had read one of hers before, but this one is regarded as her first ever Regency romance. And I actually downloaded this on my phone on the Kindle app because I had to take a coworker to the ER, and I was stuck there waiting for hours, and I had no book with me. And it was not a life-threatening thing, but we were there 4 hours. So I downloaded this on my phone on the Kindle app, and I have to say that I very much adored this book. This was so fun. First, I thought it was just, you know, a regular Regency romance, but there are some very lovable characters in here. The brother of the main character, I freaking love him. And there were some scenes with him and his friends that were so freaking hilarious that I was laughing out loud because I continued to read it, obviously, once I got home, and my husband kept asking me, "What are you laughing at?" And it was this book. So there were some very funny scenes. It is a young woman who makes a very brilliant match in Regency England. She is very spirited though, so she gets into some scrapes, and her brother and his friend are trying to help her get out of these little scrapes that will cause scandal. So it was very funny. I was cracking up so much during certain scenes, and I loved it. And now for next month, I plan on reading more. But yes, between that and this, I would say that I succeeded in the historical fiction readathon for 2024. These were 2 excellent books, but especially this one. And now I am on to read some more Georgette Heyer, which is perfect for next month, or I guess tomorrow, since tomorrow starts July. But for our Jane Austen July and Regency romance that we're going to be getting into. So yes, that is everything that I read for this month, and I may have been a little chatty, but I'm very happy with everything I read. And if you made it to the end of this video, I thank you so much, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.